Teacher Bryan Chu says he was targeted for standing up for students and minorities, but school board members say his firing has nothing to do with that. Catherine Cook was at tonight's meeting. Catherine, walk us through what happened here.
Well, David, tonight's hearing was unusual from the start. School disciplinary matters are typically confidential unless the employee asks them to be considered publicly. Bryan Chu did that. Board members suggested it wasn't Chu's beliefs or convictions they disagreed with. It was how he did or didn't do his job.
Middle school teacher Bryan Chu bowed to supporters Tuesday night as he walked into his termination hearing at Portland Public Schools headquarters. About an hour later, PPS school board members voted to fire him for insubordination and neglect of duty. Chu taught social studies at Harriet Tubman Middle School in North Portland. He'd been on paid leave since April 2022. This is what he told us about that before the meeting.
Well, it's been nice. It's funny. You don't realize how toxic PPS is until you're actually out of it. I feel bad for all the teachers that are still in it.
At Mr. Chu's request, the hearing was also a public hearing.
During the hearing, which Chu requested be made public, board members cited their biggest concerns, gleaned from more than 1,000 pages of documents.
The issues with coworkers, complaints of bullying, creating an unsafe workplace.
Grades were not based on demonstrated student work, in which there weren't lesson plans, a whole host of other things that weren't happening in the classroom, which have an impact on students.
I know you better.
Chu has a history of standing up against Portland Public Schools for a number of reasons. That includes expletive-laced disruptions during school board meetings. Some students say he helped them stand up against a planned I-5 expansion that would require their school to be moved. Reasons some students and teachers spoke in support of Chu.
Mr. Chu's classroom was always the perfect temperature, always had food, always had good vibes, and produced productive, outspoken, compassionate students.
I believe Bryan Chu symbolizes the underdog in this district, always raising his voice to stand up for what's right, despite the fear of being retaliated against.
All in favor, please indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
In the end, the board voted 5-1, with one abstaining, to fire Chu.
White supremacist system, what do you expect, right? It's actually an honor to be fired.
Well, some pretty strong words there. All right, Catherine, what happens next? Is this a done deal?
Well, David Chu says he plans to seek arbitration and tells us it's not over and that this is just the beginning. Portland Public Schools confirmed tonight that arbitration is indeed an option, so we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, we certainly will. Thank you, Catherine.